Hey, what's up, guys? It's the HPR Chronicles Podcast in quarantine with Shakur and Smith.
Smith is me. Quarantine.
You know what I mean? Exactly. If you are joining us for the first time, we are a podcast about history, politics, and race from a pop culture perspective, which basically means we have a lot of swag. We would like bring you the info in a fun way, you know, about history, politics, and race, and current affairs as well. I'm a film director from Trinidad and Tobago, and I love history, politics, and race. And Smith is a veteran of the Army Reserves. You know, he works for the VA currently, and he has a passion for the same thing. We always say the truth. We're all about the truth. We're not about any race. The truth offends you. We're sorry, not sorry. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So throughout the show, you might hear me call Shakur Crispy. That's his nickname. His name is Christopher Smith, but we call him Crispy here in the wine country area in Southern Cali. And I forget what my nickname is, but if I have one, he's free to call me that. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to confuse you. He keeps saying Crispy. Well, Crispy is Smith, and Smith is Crispy, but for those of you who don't know. Now you know. So in lieu of, you know, this COVID-19, man, this pandemic we're experiencing in 2020, the last few shows have really been just covering what's going on with this stuff, because it's so interesting. You know, what I do is every week before the next show, I just take a bunch of notes and write them down here on my phone, and I bring it to the show so I can get Smith's take on it. You know, some stuff you may have seen, he may not have seen. So yeah. So every week we just want to bring you guys some current affairs on COVID-19, and I'm sure every week it's going to be something about COVID-19. I just lost Smith for a second there. He's back. It's all
sorry.
Good. That's all good. only if you watching us on YouTube, you would have seen that look. But it's all good, man. It's crazy. I did this post the other day for our listeners who follow my private social media, which is probably a few of you. And I was watching, you know, Bill Maher, and it just tripped back, because, you know, I've been following Bill Maher for decades, even before when he was on ABC and he got kicked off and this, that, and the other. And it was just crazy to see him doing his show the way we do ours. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been watching everybody, all my favorite podcasts, like all my friends in the industry, you know, some of which we have the same agent. And, you know, I mean, these shows have millions of followers, and it's just crazy that they're doing their stuff just like us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, our show is fairly new, and as we grow, I'm sure we'll get to those levels. You know what I'm saying? But it's just been interesting watching my favorite shows the way we do ours. You know what I mean?
Or even TV shows like you know, the news. They have some of like weather people, whatever, broadcasting from their home. Dr. Phil, he's even doing his thing where he's interviewing people.
Right.
So what we're doing is just like everyone else.
Yep, just like everyone else. And that's actually a great segue to talk about our first topic. I want to get your take on George Stephanopoulos, how his wife was diagnosed like a month ago. Yeah. And then he was recently diagnosed with COVID-19, but has no symptoms. And, you know, and it kind of struck me a certain way, because as I've been watching this the past month, you know, I've never seen someone from the news media who had it and wasn't sick. So it was just interesting because, you know, we've all heard asymptomatic. And I forget what country, but they were just talking about in one country that half the people they tested were actually positive with no symptoms at all. You know what I mean? Yes. Yeah. So it was kind of strange to just see one of my favorite news guys on there, just vibe chilling, where he said, "Yeah, I got it, and haven't had not one symptom." You know what I mean? So like because we've always heard asymptomatic, but to see it and just see someone like, I'm what they call asymptomatic. My wife has it, I have it, but she's in a completely different place than I am. Wow. And it's crazy, man, how this disease, how this virus, I mean, just decides to pick who wants to pick. It really trips me out. You know what I mean?
Well, it seems like it's, you know, not to say like his wife is unhealthy, or is there something underlying, any underlying conditions that she may have that he doesn't. You know, those are little things that I know that they're looking at. But this is a way to also say this disease, this virus, does not pick on color, race,
status,
sex, religion, none of that. Like it's very possible that maybe a lot of us are, like you just said, or like what's going on with North stepping up. We're asymptomatic. We have it, don't realize it, don't have anything going wrong. I guess I just heard that over this past weekend that it was possible that it had been here before March. I think today Trump talked about the first case. But it's very possible that it had been here. Like you had said, you think you might have had it already.
In January.
And that's very, very, very possible.
Yep. Because go ahead.
Oh, and then you got around us, which that would not have been enough time past so did that help us become asymptomatic from it?
Dude,
if you passed it, I don't know.
And Crispy, you know what's crazy about it? I felt it coming on. Because how do we know that's not what M had? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I actually, because I got it from her, but I actually felt it coming on the night we dropped the trailer off when my car was in that Super Bowl shoot. Remember? It was cold, and we were trying to get the trailer off the car to drop the trailer back off. Yeah. And I gave you a ride to Popeyes that night. and I actually started to feel it then when we were doing the trailer. And that night when I got home, brother, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
I mean, there were moments where I would get up and feel as if I couldn't even walk. Yeah. Body aches, fever, no appetite, no taste. I mean, horrible cold sweats. I would wake up pouring sweat like a few nights in a row. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Sione even said, like, man, I never seen you sick like that in the 8 years I've known you. Never.
Wow.
And he's absolutely right. And again, he's here with me. He didn't get it.
Yeah.
I saw my daughter right after when I should have been still contagious. She didn't get it.
She didn't get it. Yeah.
And you didn't get it. I saw you. You didn't get it.
But I will say I started feeling something, and I started taking precautions, like doing some herbal stuff, because, or home remedy. Like I did some honey and everything, because I just didn't want to risk any chances. And I felt better. And of course, it could have just been nothing, and little sniffles coming on. But again, you never know. So
yep. I mean, it's
and let me add to this. Like last week when we were talking, one thing that was kind of misstated is testing for the COVID-19 is free, but treatment is not. The treatment part, it's it could fall on people and put them in hard times, especially during this, with the economy going the way it is, people having to stay home, and people having to quarantine themselves or going to the doctor and end up being in ICU and everything that's being treated. It could cost them, as little as a couple thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to cover a hospital bill. So I kind of guess again, stating this is a great time to talk about healthcare for all, because everyone deserves, in this type of situation, the whole nation of people need to be taken care of, and that's about the best way.
Right. I mean, listen, one thing I saw, which with one of the countries, it was New Zealand. This is what I wanted to bring up. I have so much on my list to bring up, man. But let's talk about New Zealand real quick. Let's talk about New Zealand real quick. So they have this cute little prime minister, right? New Zealand.
Okay.
And I love how as soon as it hit, I mean, she took the initiative and locked that shit down. Wow. I mean, and look it up when we get off, and our listeners, look it up. You'll see all the videos on. I saw it on the news, but I'm sure all the videos are out there or on YouTube. She's had only one death, in her entire country and only 1,200 cases.
Holy cow. Nice.
I mean, she locked it all the way down. And this is the same prime minister that when they had the mass shooting, she immediately took away the automatic weapons.
Yeah. I remember that.
Dude, she is no joke. And Hong Kong did pretty much the same like she did. They've had only 4 deaths and 1,000 cases, which is interesting.
Wow.
But these are 2 countries that literally locked it down. I mean, stopped it in its tracks. I mean, as soon as they heard it, went into action. It wasn't about no politics. It wasn't about nothing. And she took control of her country. This is the result. Kudos to her. I wish we had a president of the same caliber. Yeah. What do you have to say about that?
No, I do agree. Like, if even Dr. Fauci made the comment over this past weekend that if it could have been contained or quarantined sooner, then less, there would have been less deaths overall. And I mean, I think that's a pretty true statement. Could they have picked a better date than March 11th? It would have been nicer, but they did what they did with the news as it was coming in. There's still the only thing that I think people need to look into is the reports that were coming in December, January, and February before March, because just the numbers, we didn't have any cases, but the statements coming from the top level of government was not to be concerned. We were getting the information that the young is not going to get affected. And I got to say that
young people have died.
Yeah.
People with no conditions have died. That's also not, I mean, most who died do have conditions. I'm agreeing with your former statement, but there are some people with no underlying conditions that have died.
Yeah. And to see, so this, past weekend, I was kind of out a little bit, and I could see people in San Diego along the cliffs, just people out. And, some people, and a good number of people are not wearing masks. Okay, you can, you're risking taking that little risk, and it may be small, it may be nothing, it may be something, but it's just amazing to see people out. But yet there were police out to prevent anyone from gathering, to try and just look at the at the beaches or the waters and stuff like that. Which I feel bad again for the officers having to go out to keep this quarantine, but they're doing their jobs. I appreciate it. But and then again, this past weekend was Easter. And I don't know if you've seen the videos or clips where people have been stating how they, this was a time for them to come together and get it, as a congregation in buildings.
And I'm like, get the blood of Jesus, right? Then all that's going to save them.
Yeah. Or that they're covered by the blood of Jesus, which therefore, but just, just the fact that they think, or they're comparing things like grocery stores, liquor stores, dispensaries, or whatever else are all open, and people can get all these, why are these essential places open? You can get non-essential things, which then goes into, like I was just reading another article where a woman went to Walmart to buy like a car seat, which I would deem that as an essential product. But supposedly the Walmart had it roped off, so therefore you couldn't buy it, and it was considered non-essential. They switched it up, but it's been cleared up. But the fact that someone was not thinking enough to go, well, baby stuff that has, people are still having babies. It's not like the quarantine allowed anyone who was is pregnant to just keep their baby inside them longer or something stupid like that. But I don't know. Again, I think the issue overall is that, and this is again where you go with the government and on a national level. So the White House didn't have a plan that they put out, and they still don't have a plan for, like, they're talking about reopening. And what is the plan? Do you just free fall and everyone just goes back to their daily lives? No, that can't happen. So there's gotta be a plan in place so that at least everyone's trying to do the same thing. And that's what I would say is going to be a big thing when this is all said and done, is looking back to see how our leaders, political leaders, how they handled it.
Right.
You know, could they have had a plan together to at least guide everyone so that all of us as citizens know what we need to do.
What I want to say about Walmart.
Yeah.
So you know, the Breakfast Club, you know, that's one of my favorite shows / podcasts that I listen to. So they've been like interviewing artists and stuff, do it exact same way on Zoom, you know. And so they interviewed Boosie Badass this morning, man. That was one of the funniest interviews I've ever seen. Boosie said, since the malls are closed, he gets up and gets dressed and hits Walmart. And Boosie was like, since the mall's closed, Walmart is lit right now. and listen, it was so fun. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, Crispy. When I went the other day to get stuff for my dog, dude, it was lit. I even ran into a girl that I met on Bumble and I saw at the winery recently. It was crazy. Boosie is not lying.
It's lit.
Boosie said Walmart's like the mall now. And so he said he literally gets dressed, goes to Walmart, grabs one or two days, hang out a little bit to come home. He's like, that's the only thing I could do. It was hilarious, man.
That's hilarious.
I mean, and this is you know, he's a down south legend, man. Like multi-millionaire, has like a 15,000 square foot mansion down in Louisiana with club in it and game room. And he don't even have to leave the house. You know, in the same interview, he talked about how his kids have been having so much fun because there's so much to do at his estate. He's on 67 acres. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, with a huge mansion, you know. Wow. Anyway, man, that was funny as heck. You know, I said Boosie is a fool, but I had to say he's not lying. You know what I'm saying?
When you went, you saw.
I saw exactly what he was talking about.
Wow.
I was like, wow, your sound got low again. What did you do?
Okay. I don't know. I just need to speak up and maybe get closer.
It's back now, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, man. I just want to say that real quick before we moved on. What else is on here? Oh, so guys, Crispy hit me the other day and was talking to me about the herd immunity thing.
Yeah.
And when he hit me, I had never heard of this. And I Googled it, and a Vice video came up about it, a really good Vice video, because Stockholm, Sweden is one of the first and only places that I think are doing it, if I'm not correct. Or if they're not the only place, they're like leading the charge. So Vice did a whole video on herd immunity in Stockholm. And let me do a quick shameless plug. Vice is also who has my TV show that I produce and all that. Check that out. Shameless plug real quick. Same network. So anyway, so after I watched the thing about herd immunity, they also had a news brief about it today, which was really cool because I was able to write a bunch of notes down for our show. So what they were saying earlier on CNN is, and they actually had the graph up, even though herd immunity, and they had the guy on Vice who actually created it, and they had him on the news today too. This is just something one of those scientists in Sweden thought was a good idea. You know what I'm saying? No, that's exactly what it is. Not like this is some proven scientific thing.
Oh, okay.
In fact, over 2,000 scientists in Sweden have signed a petition to actually stop it. And the reason is their death rate is higher than other places who are not doing the herd immunity. And they showed video of them this weekend. Everybody just out chilling. You know what I'm saying? And and because they're doing the herd immunity thing, they have another peak coming, and they're saying that it could overwhelm their healthcare system, and they need to stop and just make everybody go into quarantine the way everyone else is doing it. I mean, if you look at New Zealand, they did what we did late, 1 death. I mean, so how do you compare herd immunity to quarantining. I mean, and logic and the science says the best way to stop a virus is to just stop it. If you have it, stay in the house, it won't go anywhere else. It'll die in your body and it'll disappear. Like, you know what I mean? So I don't, and you know, one of the things I don't like because our president, well, your president, because he's such an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
He's heard all this stuff, and because he wants to get the economy back open, now he's touting this herd immunity thing on his press briefing today.
Yeah,
as if this is something that we should do, when all the science is saying like no. Like,
yeah, and
like
in addition to with the herd mentality or immunity, herd immunity, the like as you said, it's allowing it to spread, but because some people are going to be immune, and then those that do have it, you know, they'll get it, and either it'll spread enough that it should be enough where it gets controlled somehow. But the one biggest part that they kind of omit about it is you need a vaccine if you don't have an idea of how many people are actually immune to it. So since they can't test everyone at one time to decide to determine what the population is that's immune to it, you have to have a vaccine, otherwise people are going to die. Right. So that's the biggest thing. Is like, you told this thing. I mean, I'm just amazed. It will be interesting to see what this, because he's supposed to come out with a plan. Like, you know, like I think we also said, unfortunately, we do talk about it a lot because the stuff is changing day to day, week to week. You know, what we just talked about last week is way different than what we're talking about, you know, this week. You know, like I mentioned, Dr. Fauci was, you know, being criticized by Republicans and allies of Trump. And then all of a sudden this weekend, Trump, you know, posts or retweets #fire Fauci. You know, but then he got him out there today, and the discussion was very positive.
And Fauci was saying, "Oh, I didn't mean it like that." And one of the reporters even asked him, "Are you saying this because of pressure from Trump?" And he was like, "No, I'm not saying it because of that." But we all know that that's what it is. We all know that's what it is. And see, the thing about it is, they had to clean that up because we all know that had he fired Fauci because of this, it would have been over for him. This is the one time where he couldn't bully the person that spoke negatively about him.
Oh, yeah.
Because the repercussions would have outweighed the result. You know what I'm saying?
The actions,
Yeah, the actions. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was interesting. I was watching it play out, too. Like, you got to be kidding me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then he goes into this whole thing about what he did wrong, right, and all the dates and timelines. When we have the video of him saying, this is a Democrat hoax. We have the video of you saying that, bro. When you should have been locking the country down like they did in Hong Kong and
you know, I gotta say though, I love the fact that the news channel I was watching when he started going and then just touting about what he did so well or whatever.
Right.
They came back and was like, well, as the president's kind of just we'll come back to more updates as necessary. Right. Because they basically said, no, stop. Like, why keep showing him? He's not providing anything useful.
Right.
It's not information that's making us feel better. It's just him trying to deflect and say, these people are fake news, or this was fake news, and I said this. When I reacted, these people did this.
You know, it's funny. I love how great Cuomo is doing, and I love how now that Cuomo and a bunch of other governors are talking about teaming up and getting a good strategy going. How now he wants to take credit for that. No, I have full authority. They're not going to do that. I'm the one that's going to set it up. That's what he just said.
Really?
He said, no, I'm not letting those governors do that. And I'm paraphrasing.
Because it's New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut.
I forget the states, combine. But what it is, if it goes successful, he wants to take credit for it. You know what I'm saying? When the whole time he was saying, do your own thing. Now Trump was saying, do your own thing. Why you worried about the Now the government's going, okay, we're doing our own thing.
Now he wants to be like, oh no, you
yeah. Oh my God, man. Anyway, I mean, it's crazy to just watch him spin the narrative when it favors him, or like try to spin it. You know what I mean? It's just,
if it comes to, you know, anything negative, he's deflecting and he's gonna put out the blame. If it's anything positive, it's of course because of him. And he deserves the praise, and people are supposed to be like, oh, you know.
Like if he's some communist dictator of a communist country. This dude is, anyway.
Okay.
I just hope that we get his ass up out of here at the end of the year, man. That's all I gotta say.
Let me just only thing I know that's kind of concerning with some people, because if voters out there or people out there hadn't heard, Wisconsin, they had their a vote, and they wanted to, a big swing state. They wanted to delay the vote. They wanted to get mail-in ballots, but Republican side said no, force people out. And in fact, there's a Republican, and I can't remember the guy's name. He's gowned up. He's gowned up, and while in gown says, oh, there's no reason for people to be concerned. They should go out and just vote. You know, it's crazy. So the concern now is that how will this quarantine and the virus in general, how will it affect the election come November? So we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. The next thing I want to touch on is how Fauci was saying that we shouldn't shake hands anymore for a while.
I like that
idea. Saying, which was something that's why I wanted to bring it up. He said today, I saw him on GMA this morning. I think it was GMA. I don't want to say the wrong thing on these public channels and stuff, but I'm pretty sure it was GMA, because I always go on Channel 7. But he was saying, I don't think, he said we're not gonna be able to shake hands like again for a long time. Like we shouldn't. That's what he said.
Shouldn't
at all. And it's something, and I was like, this is what Crispy was saying. You know what I mean?
It's I got this. It was my ex-wife's father-in-law, ex-father-in-law. He had made that comment, and I remember thinking to myself, like, but that it changes. It's something so weird that you normally do that it's hard to undo, but I don't know. Maybe it's more of a masculine thing, the whole handshaking, respect thing. But I've also kind of thought about it from his, him being a doctor, his idea of it, and that's true. You don't know who you don't know how clean someone is that you when you shake their hand. You don't know what they have touched or whatever. And so it's just a better idea to not shake hands at all. I remember being helping a customer with some IT stuff. And I'm just, to make up awkward silence, he kind of made the comment like, can you believe they're saying we shouldn't shake hands anymore? And I kind of, I had this, like, because I agree with it. I didn't want to just say, I agree. It was just like, it's kind of a good idea. I just kind of threw it like that. And I think you can feel the awkwardness of it. But I totally agree with stopping some traditions. Shaking hands. Hey, I can do a head nod. I can, the elbow thing seems stupid. Like, only people who I really would want to hug is who I really care about. And who I feel like, okay, I'll risk it because I know them. But the random, some of the friends that we have, when I see them and they go to shake my hand, I'm just going to be like, hey, what's up? Nod head, head nodding, please.
Yeah, man. I totally agree. And when I went to Albertsons the other day, I mean, I've really been only doing my shopping when I'm supposed to. But because I'm getting this new dog, I wasn't sure about how dog food was flowing in and out. You know what I'm saying? As I said, when I was told what I needed, I was told to just make sure I can go grab something. Because I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? And the funny thing is, the stuff that I really need is sold out everywhere. I have to order it online, but I was able to get small cans of it at Albertsons. So I'm glad I actually went. And I had to get another brand that people don't want me to use just a few cans of that just to hold me over, and just until I order what I really need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I went to Albertsons the other day, and that was Saturday, and Crispy, I swear, it felt like I was in a movie. Yeah. Every single person in the store had a mask on. I didn't see not one person.
Yeah.
Without it.
It depends on that, because the Albertson I went to
you were telling me you had a different experience, right?
It was, I mean, majority of the people, yes, but even at the counters, but there was a few walking around with no mask, and I was kind of shocked myself. But it's interesting. Like, I will say, I was buying some alcohol, and the woman, kind of looked at me to determine, and you got the thing, so no one could see the gray. Kind of have to. I was like, "Do you want to see my ID?" She's like, "No, you're good."
Right.
But then I gotta hand it to you. She's like, "Nah, you're good. Go ahead."
Right, and one of the things I didn't like when I was standing in the express checkout line, this older lady was still standing close to me, and everyone else in front of me was doing the 6 feet, and I wanted to tell her, like, hey, even though we're all wearing masks, we still should be 6 feet. I want to tell her that, like, because if you cough or sneeze at 6 feet, the chance of me getting it is probably 0, as opposed to you right behind me and that shit comes out of your mask. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. I want to tell her, but I didn't say anything. Aya kept my back to her, and thank God she didn't cough or sneeze, because I would have walked away. You know what I'm saying? Which, go ahead.
I was just thinking of that model or simulation where it showed someone coughing in a grocery store and how it spreads, and if you're in one aisle, and depending on how the air is flowing, you could be in the next aisle and get contaminated and not even know it. You take your mask off because you keep it safe, and then you're taking in stuff. So that was good point.
Which I printed this up earlier to tell the audience, and I posted it already, so I'm sure you saw it, but I want to just go over how long it stays on different things. Because a lot of people are confused by it. Even my mom was. Then when I sent her this that I sent you earlier, she was like, "Oh, thanks for sending me that." So to our listeners, on plastics, it's 2 to 3 days, which is very interesting. You know what I mean? Which means you can get a bottle and not wash your hands, and not literally Lysol it down or Clorox it down like a gallon of water, and it could be only for 2 to 3 days. And if you don't keep your hands washed until it dies and touch your face, you could be in trouble.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? On stainless steel, it's 2 to 3 days. Cardboard, 24 hours. So again, when you get those packages from Amazon, like for instance, I got a package today, and I cut it open downstairs, pull the contents out, and I put the box in the garage. I went and washed my hands. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Copper, 4 hours. Aluminum, 2 to 8 hours. Glass, 5 days. Drinking glasses, measuring
5
cups.
days?
Yes, mirrors, windows, 5 days. Up to 5 days. That's unbelievable.
Crazy.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Ceramics, dishes, pottery, mugs, 5 days. Paper, the length of time varies. Some strains of coronavirus live for only a few minutes on paper, while others live for up to 5 days. You know what I mean? So on food, it says coronavirus doesn't seem to spread through exposure to food. Still, it's a good idea to wash fruits and vegetables under running water before you eat them. Scrub them with a brush or your hands to remove any germs that might have been on their surface. Wash your hands after you visit the supermarket. If you have a weakened immune system, you might want to buy frozen or canned produce, because they show that on freezing items it can't like live or whatever.
Okay.
Items that are like are freezing. They were just talking about that on the news earlier, actually.
And I also read food workers, like in production plant, is possibly striking because there was a food worker in a production place who got the virus.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't hear about it.
I just read that a little bit ago. But real quick, if I can interrupt, or you still got some more to break down?
No.
There's a friend of mine. He a high school friend who actually was part of Obama's administration, like worked for the government, but then retired after Trump went in there. And you can see, he wrote this thing. I just want to read real quick. He goes, I'm seeing lots of talk about almost being done, about being excited to get back to normal in a couple weeks. Don't know who needs to hear this, but I've written this kind of emergency declaration. Please don't be fooled by any arbitrary date on the calendar. We're not through this, and likely won't be by the end of April. The peak is literally the point where, hopefully, the greatest number of people are infected and contagious. If we keep on doing what we're doing, it's the turning of the tide. But the peak is also when you have the greatest chance of also getting infected and spreading it. There is, by definition, the greatest number of contagious people at the peak. I say hopefully because, importantly, it's only the peak if we keep doing what we've been doing. There is no vaccine. The first of a month means nothing to a spreading disease. If we try to go back to normal on an arbitrary date because someone wrote a round number from the calendar of an executive order, and we don't have significant organization and infrastructure in place, thousands more will die, tens of thousands. And we'll be right back to where we are now, with tens of thousands more dead that didn't need to die. We can't get back to some semblance of a functioning economy and society, but until there's a vaccine and 100 or 2 million people vaccinated, we'll need a massive turnout, population scale testing capacity, and ability to trace back contents of exposure and then isolate those people. We do not have that and aren't even close. We don't need a Manhattan Project or moon landing scale effort. We need a World War II scale effort. As the flood recedes from its crest, the water's high, and it can still rain. Stay safe, everyone. So to Tim Manning, who wrote that, just want to share that. I think it's,
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. What I wanted to say before we move on was that Prime Minister of New Zealand was so strict about it. She found out one of her ministers went to the beach with his family, and she demoted him.
That's good.
And he apologized after. He said, "Yeah, sorry, I led a bad example." She straight demoted him.
Wow.
He was apologizing on the news, I swear. He was like, "Yeah," and you know what? I don't blame her, man.
Yeah, no,
I don't blame her. And then I don't know if you saw the group of guys that got arrested for going to a different city, and they said they were going to do some essential drinking, and it was a group of them, and they were caught out.
Yeah,
they all got arrested. They had them sitting out on the curb. Y'all came from, you Google it right now, you must see it. And they were like, the cops was like, so y'all came from another city to come to our city to do your essential drinking. And I think it was a close city. I think somewhere in California, I forget.
Okay.
Yeah,
I looked at it.
Yeah. It was on the news, and these dudes, it was about maybe 6 of them, I think, 6 or 7 of them, and they were all wearing black, and they said they came to do some essential drinking. Yeah, and they all got locked up and fined. Yep. Well, it's like, what are you doing?
And you know, the woman who started the hashtag Stay Home.
Mm-hmm.
Her and her husband so it was his birthday. And so they had a party, which supposedly the people who attended the party were in quarantine with them. But they posted pictures of a party when this whole stay home thing is going on. And she's like and I think it was in Africa, Uganda, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, just it is sad when you think of people violating who are up high, who should be giving the example, and. And for us, that's again the president all the way down in any.
Yep.
Because people can't die.
Yep, they can die. Trying to see what else was on my list. I think that was it on my list. The peak is coming.
So now, did you send me a video that you had wanted to talk about?
Which one? The
money.
Oh yeah, I wanted to do a show on that.
Oh, okay.
Because I've always known about that. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, that shit is deep.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to do an in-depth show about that. I've always known that. but I just ran across a great video on it that Cold Fusion did, whoever it was. Cold Fusion was
yeah,
amazing
Cold
too.
Fusion.
Yeah, them dudes are amazing. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And
so that's a future thing. So something the audience
definitely do a show on that.
Okay.
I mean, because how that's set up is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The way they set that up. Yep. And a lot of people are not even aware that that's how it's set up. A lot of people are not even knowing.
Yeah, I got in a video about that 2 years ago, I think, or something. Talked about. Yeah. So anyway, I agree. That's a good one to talk about.
Yeah. And go ahead.
Go.
No, I was gonna say. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say when we did the one on Jesus and how I pulled from like the guy that did Zeitgeist, he has a whole documentary about that. It's amazing, similar to that Zeitgeist documentary.
Yeah.
So just imagine Cold Fusion, but just explain more in depth for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's bananas. They have one like that. They really get into it. Yeah, how that's all set up and how it's created. Yeah,
and we're talking about money to the fans that are kind of listening. Yeah, and we'll have to get more in depth because I know they're just like, well, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, how the Federal Reserve System is set up, when it was set up, why it was set up, how it was set up, and how it affects our lives today. Yeah, that's basically what it's about. Interesting, very interesting. Yeah, so that's it on my list, man. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, just it'll be interesting to see what's coming up. Again, unfortunately, we might be talking more and more about the COVID-19, but it's what we're living in right now. We want everyone to get a better understanding. We would like to hit, different topics, but and we probably will,
we will. But like every day I'm watching and I just see and hear new stuff that trips me out. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. One more thing I want to say too, as it evolves, I have a Jack in the Box over here by me, and I go over there and grab a little. Sometimes me and Sion will be working late, and we'll go grab a munchie meal. What I'm saying, like a late cheap meal or whatever. So I went the other morning because I like their breakfast sandwiches. So I went and got one of the biscuits or whatever, and the girl wouldn't even serve me unless I put my mask on. And it was funny was, I was happy she did it, but the logic really didn't make sense. I was in my car. Not only was she wearing a mask, but she also had a new plexiglass shield that went down, so I couldn't. The actual trajectory wouldn't even. Plus, it was going up. It wouldn't come. You know what I'm trying to say? But
I guess.
But I still appreciated the fact that she was like, "Can you put your mask on, please?" And I put it on, and I also like the fact that she stuck the card reader out for me to do it myself.
Oh, that is nice.
Because I always thought, like, why are they taking everybody's cards, handing this back to us? I'm like, every card you touch, it lives on plastic for 3 days. I'm like,
what was it? Albertsons. When I went there, they have plastic covering. So I'm like, again, like you just said, it lasts for 2 days. So pressing. But I got me some hand sanitizer in the mail today.
Good. It's funny. I asked Albertsons about that. I said, this doesn't help us. And then she was like, no, it's not meant to help you guys because you guys got to touch it anyway. What it is, we were cleaning it so often, the plastic is stopping the water, the cleaning from going into the system. I said, she said, that's why we have it. But we know that whether you touch the plastic or the real thing, is you still gonna, you know what I'm saying? I said, okay, I was wondering why you had it on.
Yeah.
So she actually explained. I said, okay, that actually makes sense.
And that makes sense. Because they would just, spray, and they really shouldn't spray it on. They should spray it on the towel, which then
and wipe it down. She was like, they were spraying it. Yeah. So the plastic just enables them to just change the plastic out, and that's what she was telling me. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So it's good that people are actually trying to do the right thing, man, to get this thing like over with. And I know here in California they switched hours from the end of April to May 14th. Yeah, when social distancing.
Oh, okay, that's good.
So let's see if it really ends May 14th. It's another month.
4th of July.
Right, I remember you said that. Yeah, I remember you said that. And then I've heard other people, real quick before we go, I've heard other people say that they think it should be till like November to really get rid of it. heard some other scientists say. It should really be November. You know, I was like, wow. But at least we'll be off for Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It did go to November. You know what I'm saying?
Who's going to be off? I work from home. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm just saying we'll be able to do social. Get back.
Oh yeah, got it. We'll be back to being able to be social.
We'll be off of quarantine. I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, I do definitely feel like the longer we stay, the
better it is in the long run.
And if they can get testing and vaccine, then the better it is in the long run.
The better it is in the long run.
Yeah, because they always, what is it? They expect a second. Oh, China is getting a second wave of.
They were talking about trying to stop a second wave. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. They were trying to talk about stopping a second wave.
So that whole video where people took off their masks, they should have been like, keeping them on.
Because that could happen once again, which the scientists keep saying. Don't think we're just gonna flip a switch one day. All right, guys, let's head to the winery, Crispy. You and KK.
Yeah, I wish.
I wish, man. It's not gonna happen like that. It really has to be done in the correct way to really mitigate this thing, to make sure that we're safe and we're not doing this by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Period.
Exactly, or even longer. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure at some point it's going to go away, but it would not. It would be nice to have a true ending where you can go out and you're not catching something because you've been vaccinated or you are immune. So.
Right. Exactly. All right, brother. Well, thanks for checking in, man.
Yep. Thank you.
That was almost an hour. That's cool. Yeah, I'll get this out to the people. I forgot to say in the beginning to definitely follow us on YouTube, ISENT Group Digital, and hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you can get the notifications when we have new episodes. And for all of you who listen to us on the streaming platforms, where you get your podcasts, thank you for continuing to listen. We're going to try to keep bringing it to you guys every week. Stay locked down. If you're quarantined with your family or just that special someone. And it's the HPR Chronicles Podcast with Shakur and Smith in quarantine, bringing it to you virtually. You know what I'm saying? So I'll see you next week, Smith.
Yep.
Stay hunkered down and don't try to come and see me.
Don't worry. Don't worry. All right. Peace.
All right, guys.